Warning. This What If contains themes that may disturb the faint of heart and scared of mind. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey. What is up, mortals? It is I, the Spirit Device, here with a new video for you. Welcome to Day of Terror number 2. What if Bakugou was haunted? I just wanted to greet you guys by saying sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So we begin. I'm really worried about Bakugou. He's been acting weird for the past few weeks. I hope he's not sick. I have also noticed his odd behavior. He's been acting more fearful and paranoid lately. I'm assuming you've heard him in the night if I'm able to hear him all the way from my— Yeah, totally. It sounds like he's talking to someone, but it doesn't sound like a phone call. It's really weird. Tokoyami hummed thoughtfully. This only made him more suspicious, and he hoped it wasn't the worst-case scenario. The 1A students arrived in front of Bakugou's dorm. It was late in the evening, but they hoped their blonde classmate would still be awake, given his current and unusual sleep schedule. Bakugou opened the door after a quick knock, looking exhausted. The bags under his eyes would give Aizawa a run for his money. Hey, Baku bro! Can we come in? Yeah, sure. The door was shut after Tokoyami and Kirishima crossed the threshold. The redhead started conversing with his friend, while a foreboding chill traveled up Tokoyami's spine. He was very familiar with this sensation. There was another entity here, and it wasn't Dark Shadow. You seemed really out of it, dude. Something happened with your folks? Nah, this isn't a family thing. I'm honestly just pissed that it's affecting me so much. Maybe talking about it would help? Bakugou could trust Kirishima, but he wasn't too sure about Tokoyami. The blonde's eyes met the crimson eyes of the raven. The nervousness and fear in that look didn't go unnoticed by Tokoyami. Bakugou quickly glanced at another part of the room before returning his gaze to Kirishima. I had a classmate in middle school. I wouldn't say he and I were close, but I'd considered us friends in a way. I don't know why he did it or how it happened, but he's gone. It happened a little over a year ago, so that's probably why I've been so out of it. Oh, geez, man. Sorry to hear about that. You know, you can always come to me to talk about stuff. And Hound Dog's the counselor, so he'll probably be a good person to talk to as well. I find it hard to believe you'd still be mourning for someone you barely considered a friend. I don't mean to come off as insensitive, but you don't seem like the type to wallow in the dark like this. What do you know about me, Extra? You and I don't even hang out. This is probably the first real conversation we've had since entering UA. The blonde had a point, but Tokoyami knew a liar when he saw one. It didn't help that Bakugou kept glancing at a corner of the room, as though expecting someone to be there. When Tokoyami looked, the pins and needles feeling in the back of his neck intensified, and he believed he saw a very faint silhouette. Curiously, the raven approached the corner. This got a rise out of Bakugou as he tried to kick out his classmates. Kirishima became concerned while Tokoyami ignored both of them. An unsettling feeling welled in his stomach to the point where Dark Shadow was thinking this wasn't a good idea, but the raven persisted. He noticed the air felt colder as he reached the corner. Something grabbed Tokoyami's arm. He felt extreme pain as strange sensations flooded his mind. He saw a very young Bakugou, probably 4 or 5 years old. His heart was overcome with fear, sorrow, pain, and overwhelming rage. Then he was falling, farther and farther as impending doom gripped his soul. Bakugou pulled Tokoyami away from the corner, snapping the edgelord from his otherworldly trance. Do you want to die, bird-brained? I mean, are you okay? Tokoyami stood, a little shaken as he nursed his arm. I'll, be fine. But I now understand the situation. Red Riot, I need you to go get Chargebolt and Pinky. I'll return once I've collected some things from my room. Don't worry, Blondie. We'll get this resolved. Bakugou sat in his room with Kirishima, Kaminari, and Ashido. Everyone was getting impatient and worried since Tokoyami hadn't returned. Kaminari was leaving when the door slammed open, and Dark Shadow shouted, "Boo!" Everyone was scared, especially Bakugou. The young man fell off his bed. Enough antics, Dark Shadow. Oh, come on. It was harmless. I just wanted to have a little fun. That wasn't cool, DS. You really scared us. Pinky's right. Given the circumstances, you should know why it's unwise to induce fear. Why'd you call us all here, My Chemical Cromance? What's in the bag? Tokoyami carried a large duffel bag. It was filled with various books, herbs, an artifact that would hopefully be of aid. An angry entity has attached itself to Blondie. We're going to figure out why he's here and try to remove him. Like a ghost. But there's no such thing, right? Believe me, Red Riot, the supernatural is very real. I've seen it firsthand, and you should treat it with at least an iota of respect. It's why I'll be referring to all of you by your hero names, and why you should do the same for me. I'm sorry, but this seems way too unbelievable. You got any proof? Look at Blondie. He has yet to deny anything I've said, and I can guarantee it's because he knows I'm right. Bakugou gazed at Tokoyami in silent shock. If all of you are willing to participate, I can make a spirit circle to trap the ghost. We'll be able to see and talk to him, to understand why he's attached himself to Blondie. My hope is that we can help him find peace. But if not, we may have to banish him from this plane of existence. How do you know the ghost's a dude? It could be a lady ghost looking for love. Tokoyami rolled up his sleeve, revealing a nasty multicolored bruise. He grabbed me and I experienced things. His memories, his feelings, and his final moments before death. Both Blondie and Red Riot can vouch that I did not have this bruise an hour ago. The seriousness of the situation was setting in. Bakugou could hear someone's insidious laughter behind him, but he knew no one was there. Oh man, this is way too freaky. You gotta be joking. Maybe we should just call Ghostbusters to get rid of Charge Bolt. This isn't just some pest. This is a living, breathing human we're talking about. Well, an unliving specter of a person, technically, I guess. Either way, we're heroes. We should at least try to help. Despite some skepticism, everyone agreed to move forward with this plan. Tokoyami began putting protective wards around the room, while Dark Shadow gave everyone an elemental amulet that best fit them. Kirishima was given earth, Ashido had water, Kaminari took lightning, Bakugou wore fire, and Tokoyami kept wind. While I'm making a spirit circle, I need you guys to listen carefully to my instructions. Once you stand in your marked place and the spell starts, you do not leave that place until it's over. Leaving will cause the seal to break, and that could be unfavorable if we're dealing with a powerful specter. I would also advise not removing those amulets. They're meant to amplify this spell, but also act as protection against possession. I'd rather not have to do an exorcism tonight, for I'm not the most skilled in that yet. And to clarify, we'll be using our hero names and referring to Blondie as Blondie, since he doesn't have one yet. How important is the name rule? You seem to be stressing that a lot. Giving up your name to something like a ghost or demon or a fae will give them power over you. That's a contract you don't want to get involved with. You two really believe this? Yes, I do. It's worth a shot. If nothing happens, then nothing happens, and we'll find another way. The circle was completed, and Tokoyami pointed to everyone's elemental sigil. With everything set, the ritual was ready to begin. Blondie, assuming that you knew the ghost in life, it would be helpful if you could imagine his face. Can you do that? Bakugou nodded sheepishly as Tokoyami began speaking in Latin. The explosive Blondie tried to picture the nerd's face. He felt this pressure around him that made his head foggy. There was no will to think, but he was compelled to speak. Midoriya. A flash of green light and a powerful maelstrom tore through the room, emanating from the circle. Even those who weren't sensitive to the spiritual felt a chill through their souls. These friends of yours are really sticking their necks out for you, but you don't deserve it, right, Kachan? A young figure stood in the center of the circle. He wore a mostly black school uniform, and his hair was fluffy and green. The way the light went through the young man's body made him appear translucent. All but Tokoyami couldn't believe what they were seeing. Kaminari almost fell out of the circle from shock. Due to its nature and origin, Dark Shadow caught the lightning teen without breaking the spell. The ghost eyed the shadow beast curiously. Whoa, you're interesting. A soul existing somewhere between the living and the dead. Wait, I thought DS was genderless. Well, she's a girl. I can sense it in her soul. She was probably his first mistake when diving into the occult. Tell the truth, Shadowmancer. Your sister met an untimely death and you tried to bring her back. Something went wrong, and her soul fused with yours. Perhaps I can share my tragedy another time, Ghost. I'm far more interested in you and yours. Can we start by getting your name? I see what you're trying to do, but I know that I don't want to be called Ghost. How about you call me Deku? After all, it's what Kachan called me in life. What did you say, Kachan? You said it's the perfect name for a good-for-nothing quirkless loser? Hey, Deku. You can call me Red Riot. We were all wondering why you're bothering Blondie so much. I overheard all of your hero names the day you picked them, so you don't need to introduce yourselves. Turns out, ghosts can't hear the real names of people unless it's directly given to them. As for your question, why don't we let Kachan tell us? It makes sense to get the answers from the source. Come on, Blondie. Just say it already so we can get this over with. He's really creeping me out. Ugh. Bakugou's whole being quivered as he sheepishly removed his hands from his face. It was an accident. Liar! Unnatural energy tore the room asunder. Everything not bolted down was scattered or destroyed. Tokoyami began mumbling another spell to suppress Deku's power. It seemed to work as things calmed down. I know you're scared, Blondie, but you have to tell us what happened. I'm sure this is all just a big misunderstanding. Deku glared at Pinky with pure wrath. The young heroine shrunk under the gaze, but dared not step out of the circle. She believed worse would happen if she made that mistake. Could you enlighten us, Deku? It appears Blondie can't speak right now. He's silenced by guilt. I can sense it. He needs to confess, or I will never know peace. Perhaps you'll find it easier to speak if you tell us your side of the story. Although reluctant, Deku began talking. When he was alive, Deku was quirkless and had very few friends. The closest person he had to a friend was Kachan. Despite the blonde's constant bullying and berating, the green-haired teen believed Kachan would become the most amazing hero ever, especially with how powerful his quirk was. But I was wrong. So fucking wrong! Kachan's no hero. He'll never be a hero. He's not worthy! The ethereal storm grew stronger, the spells were becoming less effective, and Tokoyami was starting to worry. You need to talk, Blondie. How did Deku die? Deku... He... Say it! Confess to my murder! What's going on here? Aizawa heard some commotion coming from Bakugou's room and needed to investigate. The last thing the Insomniac expected to see were 5 of his students trying to summon something. He made eye contact with each of them, completely unable to see the ghost. I'm pretty sure demonic summoning is against school rules. I need you guys to stop what you're doing and clean this up. Overwhelmed by everything, Bakugou escaped to the circle. Dark Shadow was too slow to stop him. A pulse of energy shattered the circle and pushed everyone away. Deku smiled, eyes glinting with malevolence. Perfect. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN allows you to change your IP address, making it harder to track and securing your privacy. In addition to providing safe passage through the web, you can also expand the reach of your favorite streaming services like Disney+. If you are from the US, you won't be able to watch any of the MCU or Sony Spider-Man movies. But by switching your location to Japan, you can access them whenever you want. Check out the link in the description below to get 3 extra months when you purchase the 12-month subscription plan that costs $99.99 a year. This deal is for a limited time, and thanks to ExpressVPN for sponsoring this video. Watch out, Sensei! Being warned of danger that couldn't be seen was useless to anyone, even experienced pros like Eraserhead. Deku body-checked Aizawa, throwing the teacher against the wall. The Insomniac went limp and fell to the floor. The ghost was nowhere in sight. Kirishima checked on Aizawa, while Tokoyami searched his bag. Their teacher didn't appear to be hurt, but Aizawa's skin was noticeably cool. Shadows grew around the space, dancing up the walls and stealing the door and the window. Unease surged through the students, but Tokoyami was filled with dread. The ghost was taking them to a shadow realm. I've almost forgotten what it was like to be alive, and to possess Eraserhead of all pros. I couldn't ask for a better host.
The thing's inside of him?
Get out of our teacher, Deku! The redhead threw a hardened haymaker. The strike was effortlessly blocked by Aizawa's hand. Kirishima looked into his teacher's eyes. They were now green. If I can't convince Kacchan to confess with my words, I guess I'll have to convince him with my actions. The possessed teacher threw Kirishima before sprinting at Bakugou. Ashido shot a stream of acid at Aizawa.
Oh, sorry, Sensei!
Acid hit Aizawa's body, but Deku's otherworldly abilities prevented any burns. Kaminari raced in, electricity covering his body as he threw high-voltage punches. Although they struck true, the electric punches were having minimal effect. Deku was no fool. He studied pro heroes since he was 4 years old, and he had retained all the knowledge he had gathered over those years. Even after becoming an apparition, Deku was learning new things from following Kacchan during school.
This'll be too easy.
Aizawa's eyes turned red, and Kaminari lost all power. The angry specter wrapped the electric blonde with a capture scarf, spinning him around before throwing him at Ashido. The pink student caught her friend before trying to fire more acid, but she found her quirk unresponsive. Now it's my turn. Crackling energy crawled up the Revenant's arms before flames ignited his palms. Deku threw wheels of fire at his attackers. Kirishima protected his friends with his hardened body. The redhead was thankful that Aizawa needed to blink.
This is impossible. We can't beat Deku without killing Eraserhead. Got any plans, Tsukuyomi?
Working on it. The Raven Teen and his shadow were hastily looking through his books. They had no choice but to become quick studies in exorcisms and banishment. With the students briefly distracted, Deku turned his eyes to Bakugou. The explosive blonde hadn't moved an inch, nor did he dare join the fight. Bakugou watched Aizawa approach, the malevolence of his deceased friend's angered soul radiating off of him in waves.
Oh, no you don't, Casper!
Pinky rushed in, showering the puppeteered Proctor in acid. Chargebolt followed up with arcs of lightning. This was merely slowing down Aizawa's possessed advance, while Kirishima sprinted to Bakugou.
Come on, Blondie! We could really use your help in this fight. You know Deku better than anyone here. Maybe you can talk him down, or at least help us restrain him so we can remove him from Eraserhead's body.
Bakugou tried to choke out some words, something to convey what he was feeling, but nothing came out. He could only cover his mouth and shake his head. His entire body was trembling. Kirishima couldn't stand on the sidelines any longer. Deku was mopping the floor with Ashido and Kaminari. Kirishima wasn't going to let them die. Red Riot abandoned Bakugou, the explosive blonde falling to his knees in fear. Tokoyami knew his friends needed help, but this was the best thing that he could do for them. Finding the right combination of sigils and spells needed to come first to prevent Aizawa's soul from being consumed and Deku permanently possessing his body. Hearing his friends fight for survival forced Tokoyami to search faster.
You three are so annoying!
Leave me alone! The ghostly energy in the capture scarf lashed out at the students. Chargebolt, Pinky, and Red Riot were scattered, left lying on the ground, battered from their losing battle.
Only one of you hero wannabes is an actual threat to me, and he's got his beak buried in a book.
Tokoyami could sense the apparition approaching. He just needed a little more time. Dark Shadow appeared between its host and Deku, its massive form and angry red eyes staring down the possessed teacher. Don't you dare hurt my big brother! I don't think I have to worry about you, little girl. You're still a quirk. The teacher's eyes turned from green to red. Dark Shadow's size did diminish, and it looked less feral than it did moments ago, but it wasn't the only change. Dark Shadow still lingered, its form looking akin to a small girl with raven feathers. She had dark feathers in her hair, and her arms resembled wings. Deku was shocked and confused, the expression clear on the teacher's face. I may be a quirk, but I'm a bound soul.
And I'm gonna beat you up for hurting my big brother's friends!
The tenacious little shadow fought her hardest against Deku. She may have limitations, but nothing was going to stop her from helping Fumikage. Bakugou had pulled himself to his feet and had taken timid steps towards the fighting. He never thought he'd see the nerd again, that everything that happened would stay buried with him. The blonde remembered Inko's cries at the funeral and how his mom comforted her. He couldn't bring himself to even look at Deku's mom, but the grieving mother still embraced him. He had to make this right. Bakugou had no other choice in order to prevent any more deaths.
Stop it, Midoriya! Leave my friends alone!
The energies in the air fell to a sudden halt. Fierce, otherworldly anger erupted from Aizawa as crimson eyes glared venom at Bakugou. In a blink, the bedeviled pro had the blonde pinned down and his hands like a vice around his throat.
I was your friend! Why didn't you protect me? We were supposed to have each other's backs, and you treated me like garbage. I was nothing more than dirt under your shoes, and yet I was stupid enough to idolize you. How dare you even consider calling yourself a hero?
Crazed flames and maelstroms ripped around Aizawa and Bakugou. No one could even imagine getting close without having their bodies torn to shreds. If that wasn't enough to worry about, there was also the capture scarf to watch out for as it danced in the wind with a life of its own. The remaining students gathered near Tokoyami and Dark Shadow.
Looks like the meaning gets stronger when he's angry.
Emotional stress overall seems to be the trigger.
So, what are we supposed to do? I don't think he'll be up for doing yoga and meditation right now. You'd better have a plan, Tsukuyomi, because I've seen enough horror movies to know what happens if we don't have a plan.
I've got it. It's done. Cutting his finger along his beak, Tokoyomi ripped a blank page from his book before writing the necessary glyphs. I need you to interlock hands and focus on saving Eraserhead and Blondie. Magic is all about intention. This makeshift spell will be amplified by your amulets, and it will aid me and Dark Shadow to get closer so we can apply the exorcism.
We're not wizards, dude! This won't work!
We didn't believe in ghosts an hour ago.
Now we're fighting our teacher who's possessed by a freaking poltergeist. Pretty sure magic is the easiest thing to believe at this point. We're ready when you are, Tsukuyomi.
The three students held hands and focused on their simple spell. Dear sister, awaken the black abyss.
Let's get this ghost!
The raven's shade cloaked him protectively as he marched towards the supernatural storm. Flames and electricity rained down around the space as the wind tore everything asunder. Deku hadn't let up on strangling his former friend. His murderlessly gleeful smile was bone-chilling as Eraserhead's quirk-stealing eyes glowed red, trails streaming down his face. Bakugou's strength wasn't enough to break free. He reached for the Revenant as his vision faded.
Midoriya.
I never thought I'd hear you say my name. It's a shame it only took me dying to make it happen. The storm picked up power. Tokoyami was forced back. The heroes on the sidelines saw everything unfolding. They were fearful. Some even doubtful the spell would even work.
I don't know about you guys, but I think our fear of failure is preventing the spell from working. We don't have any magic words or a wand or anything. Just these weird necklaces and the power of friendship. Remember what Tsukuyomi said? Magic is all about intention. I'm going to give the spell everything I got if it means protecting my favorite knuckleheads and our teacher. I'm with Pinky. We'll save Eraserhead and Blondie, and we'll bring Deku to peace. We've faced real villains before. This ghost got nothing on us.
Chargebolt looked at his friends before shrugging.
All right, let's do this. I ain't afraid of no ghost.
The elemental pendants around their necks began to glow with an otherworldly light as their focus fell on their spell. The storm quelled, allowing Tokoyami and Dark Shadow to sprint towards the bedeviled pro-hero. Deku hadn't noticed his opponent's movement until the Shadowmancer was right on top of him.
We banish you from this vessel, irate spirit! Be gone!
The spell slip was slapped onto Eraserhead, its bloody markings glowing. Deku was thrown from the pro. Aizawa fell off of Bakugou. What happened? Aizawa sat up slowly and took in his surroundings. The green-haired ghost was floating above everyone's heads, eyes glowing with intense light as the storm focused around him. There was a significant lack of lightning and fire, but the wind was tearing the realm apart. Still cloaked by Bakugou's shadow, Tokoyami grabbed Bakugou and pulled him to his feet.
Tell us what happened or we're all dead!
This was where his actions brought him. Bakugou approached the storm, ready to embrace the consequences.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done what I did.
The green-haired ghost descended slightly as the storm faded. He glared at his childhood friend. I bullied you relentlessly since childhood. I called you a quirkless idiot for wanting to be a hero. I even went so far as to... I told you if you really wanted a quirk, take a swan dive off the roof and pray you'll be born with one in the next life. I didn't think you'd do it. I couldn't believe it, even when I saw you in your coffin. I'd never thought it. I never... Bakugou started choking on his tears, saying I'm sorry over and over again. Deku was eye level with the blonde as the supernatural storm and the shadow realm disappeared. Everyone was back in the dorm room.
Good. Now I want you to tell the UA staff and my mother. Once that's done, you better beg to stay in the hero course, because I will not rest until you're the #1 hero. We both know you're capable of it, and despite everything, I still believe in you, but you better make amends for your past evils.
I will. I promise.
Then shake on it.
Tokoyami was too slow to stop Bakugou from shaking Deku's extended hand. A mark was burned into Bakugou's palm. It was some sort of strange symbol. Before the explosive blonde could ask his deceased friend anything more, Deku was gone. Everyone was relieved and happy that the nightmare was over. Everyone but Tokoyami and Dark Shadow. The Raven siblings were skeptical at best. Bakugou told Deku's story to the UA staff. After much consideration, Principal Nezu asked Bakugou to continue the hero course, but the young man would have to work 10 times harder to maintain his place, as well as serving some form of punishment. Things didn't go as smoothly with Inko. She had sat quietly as Bakugou had confessed, before exploding with rage. How dare her baby boy's best friend tell him to jump? She screamed at Bakugou, telling him she never wanted to see him or his family ever again. No one had seen Inko after that. Bakugou started to take time to get to know his classmates. He had become more closely acquainted with his squad and started to support them. He would help them out with homework and training, got involved in their interests, and overall was becoming a better person. Tokoyami was allowed to start a miniature occult club and was teaching some of his peers the basics of spellcasting. The main few that had shown interest were the Shadowmancer's closest friends, Shoji and Sue. Kirishima, Ashido, Kaminari, and Bakugou would also join from time to time. However, the Raven teen had become curious when the explosive blonde kept asking questions extensively and exclusively about protection wards and how to keep ghosts away. Does paranoia drive you to learn the arts? It depends. Are you gonna tell me what Midoriya meant by Dark Shadow being the soul of your kid sister? We all have skeletons in our closet. I may consider showing you mine if you answer my question. I still feel like I'm being watched. Like he's still around, especially with what happened in training yesterday. Tokoyami urged his friend to continue. Bakugou had become momentarily distracted as a slab of building was falling towards him during training. It would have crushed him to death, but the debris seemingly shattered on its own. Bakugou thought Kaminari had blown it up with his quirk, but he wasn't anywhere around. And I might have just been imagining this part, but I thought I saw Midoriya in the shattered glass. Interesting. Though I believe something like this would occur. We'll have to look more into this. And that mark on your hand as well. But I know Midoriya's full name. If he starts causing trouble, I could just invoke that and get them to stop, right? Dark Shadow popped into the conversation.
But you made a pact with that ghost, dummy. The name trick won't work.
What do you mean? When you promised Midoriya that you would make amends for your past evils by becoming the #1 hero, you entered a contract with him. He said he would not rest until you became #1. I have reason to believe that also means that he will not let you die until the terms of the contract are met. Bakugou turned a ghostly pale at the realization as he rubbed the scarred mark on his palm. He'd done a little bit of research as to what the mark meant. From what he'd found, it was synonymous with promise or oath.
It might even be one of those packs where he'll kill you once your end of it's complete.
That is a possibility. I've seen it happen once before. How do I get out of this? I'm not sure. As I currently stand as a spellcaster and occultist, I know of no safe ways to get out of a contract like this. But don't give in to despair, Bakugou. Because giving in to despair will leave openings for negative energies and dark spirits to manipulate you, I remember. The Raven siblings promised that they would do research as Bakugou left the dorm room. He was still hella nervous about his whole situation. It felt like his soul was on a leash. No matter how far he ran, he was still bound to his promise. Bakugou looked at his reflection in the dark window. Standing next to his reflection was Midoriya. The green-haired teen had a smile that was a little too wide, and his eyes had a spark of twisted intent. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few things I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. We the Celestials' My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. The details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members who are 16 years or older to join our crew. You can sign up for whatever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for new members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching. Once again, I am the Spirit of Vias telling all of you to have a great day. Happy Halloween.